Hello, how are you guys doing today? This is Brayton, and today's video is going to be the trilogy, the third part in the Dutasteride blog series here. Kind of just going to be doing some updates today, what has all changed, my anecdotes so far, what Dutasteride's been like, and any changes I've had, so kind of this and that. So anyways, we'll kind of start from the beginning here. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, let's hop right on in here. I've been using Dutasteride for about 9 months here, but I've been using finasteride or 5-AR inhibitor since I was like 18, so a little over 3 years now. What is my experiences so far? Well, if you've known or have seen the first 2 blogs of this series here, I started losing my hair or having androgenic alopecia around the age of 16 is when I really noticed it. But I look back at it now, I think at 14, I remember having a barber tell me when they were trimming my hair, it's like, why is it so thin back here? And they were really confused because, you know, they probably didn't know or think, hey, a 14-year-old's having androgenic alopecia. Because like they were wondering why it was so thin back there. But obviously now looking back at it, it was probably an early sign that I have aggressive androgenic alopecia genetically. So, you know, obviously everyone's genetically prone to different things, and you know, mine was, well, my hair. So pretty much I started finasteride around age 18 just because I was really skeptical at first, especially learning about hair loss. In my teens, I didn't want to cut off the conversion of DHT just because you want to, during your teen years and puberty, you want to make sure you have at least normal or peaked out dihydrotestosterone levels, because I believe it is still healthy for, you know, secondary male characteristics and, you know, male sex organs and all that. So peak it out as much as possible till like, you know, when I was 18, where that's when I noticed the most amount of hair loss. And around 17 and 18, I started working out around that time, intense anaerobic workouts, as well as like taking supplements like creatine as well too, that may boost dihydrotestosterone production or conversion through the 5-AR enzyme. That is not set in stone though, but it seems to be in like one study and some anecdotes as well that creatine or glycine can actually increase dihydrotestosterone conversion. So yes, that's that. So even on finasteride, I still started to recede, and definitely the spot in the back of my head was even getting bigger just because my hair was getting more and more diffuse, and I couldn't, like, it was just draining my confidence, my anxiety, and just mental health was just getting worse. And just because like I was still losing hair, and it was just, it's crushing, especially when you're like 19 or 18, 19, it's, you know, it crushes you. So in that aspect, I finally took the dive around when I was 20 years old or so, you know, around 8-9 months ago. I dove into Dutasteride. So, and that is where it kind of all started here. So anyways, so Dutasteride, obviously we all know and love, is a more potent 5-AR inhibitor than finasteride, so that's why I started taking 0.5 milligrams daily at first. So Dutasteride blocks around 50% of scalp DHT, so only about a 10% increase from finasteride, so it's not a giant jump, but systemically it crushes a lot more dihydrotestosterone. So in general, I was like, this is gonna be great. This is the jump. This is what's gonna save my hair, and it obviously worked at first a lot when it comes to, helping my hair be more dense, just all around, just better looking in general, less thinning and all this and that. But even with time, after months passed, I started to notice more recession and more thinning, diffuse thinning especially. Not as much, of course, as before, but I was hyper aware of, like, I was still losing ground because my hair was still diffuse thinning. And that's just kind of sadly the way it is if you have, aggressive androgenic alopecia. Even with 50% scalp DHT like gone, it's, you still may lose ground. So yeah, sadly, I was still losing ground, and that's where it's like still was in my head a little bit more, and that's when I started, experimenting with topical anti-androgens, all this and that, because, well, it's like from this route, it's like you have to attack it from the scalp. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Like I was using things like RU58841 and pyrolutamide and all this and that, and it was just like I mean, I was grateful for a lot of like the hair I was like saving from the Dutasteride use, and I still think Dutasteride 0.5 milligrams works really well. But even with my hair, with I have very aggressive androgenic alopecia, it was not going to be saved by Dutasteride 0.5 milligrams. So I actually switched to 2.5 milligrams Dutasteride weekly because, well, I was still kind of scared at first to switching to the big dose of 2.5 milligrams Dutasteride daily because obviously it's very potent. It's very strong at around 80% scalp DHT inhibition. And yeah, that's a lot more. And systemically, your DHT is like none. So, yeah, so obviously I was kind of like scared at first because it is very potent. So I just did it weekly, where I just do 2.5 milligrams Dutasteride one day, and then like the rest of the week I would do finasteride. And at first I thought, maybe this is the key. But even then, with the dose of 2.5 milligrams of Dutasteride and the finasteride throughout the week, I was still noticing diffuse thinning. So at this point, I hated using topical anti-androgens because, well, in general, like something like RU58841, you never know what the side effects could be long-term. And yeah, this and that. And pyrolutamide, obviously, these things are expensive too. So it's just like at the same time, I just hated using the topicals. And I just, so I eventually took the jump into 2.5 milligrams Dutasteride daily. So, oh yeah, that's the big reveal. So I've been using 2.5 milligrams of Dutasteride for about 3 months now. So, and how has it been? Well, so far, so good. I mean, at first, I think through the first month, I definitely started to notice some side effects. I had a mild decrease in libido, where it's just I just didn't care as much. And the motivation was just not all there. And I mean, it wasn't crazy, but it was just not when I was 18, where it's crazy, So, but it's gotten better, and it's slowly kind of titrated up. And I think it's important also, I want to discuss in this video, that when it comes to having sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, and a lot of other problems when it comes to libido, it's not always a hormonal problem. Sometimes it's psychological. And especially if someone is addicted to waxing the carrot a lot, I guess you could say, or having a lot of sexual relations, your brain gets desensitized to certain things. So if you're doing it a lot and you're looking at more nympho-like things over and over time, obviously you're going to be desensitized. And that's where it's your brain and your Johnson sometimes just don't always connect on certain things, and your Johnson won't care as much just because you're so desensitized. And, it's not always a hormonal problem, especially if you're younger. The chances of it actually being hormonal are low. But obviously, I think the psychological aspect of things is something that should not be overlooked. I'm not saying, obviously, it is the answer here, but it's something to take into account here, because I think it's still very important to keep healthy sexual relations. And, I think it's important for, to make sure you give yourself a break for certain stuff. And if you are having erectile problems or sexual dysfunction in general, just try to stay away from the stuff online and stuff like that for a week, and then see how it's going after that. And obviously, if it's still progressively getting worse, that's when you talk to your doctor. But that's just something I like just to get out there in general, just because I think it's still important and should not be overlooked. So that was just a little section I want to throw in there as well. But now we're going to get onto the positive end here on what I've noticed so far, the changes in my hair, what I've all kind of noticed here. Well, in general, my density of my hair and the diffuse thinning is almost completely gone. I think it's the density in general is gotten way better. The diffuse thinning is gone almost pretty much. And it's the shedding is gone, it is completely gone. I actually shed a normal amount of hair now. It's awesome. I don't notice much thinning areas on the back of my scalp anymore, or in the Norwood pattern here. It's awesome. I feel so much more confident, especially when my hair is wet. Before, it's you could definitely notice where my hair's just flat. And you definitely can see spots in general. I'm actually going to show a couple pictures here of my before and afters here. So I'll show you a picture right here. This is when I was 18. This is when I first started finasteride in this era here. It's it's pretty bad. So this is when it's wet, and as you can tell, yeah. Next here we got I think I took a couple days ago. This is the back of my head now, and look at the difference. It's insane. And obviously I'm very happy, and when it comes to the density and how much just growth I've gotten back. Obviously I can't just be it was the dutasteride that caused it. I still was using topical minoxidil, and with microneedling as well, I definitely grew a lot of hair back too. But I still like to say that probably dutasteride, I noticed so much more density in my hair in general after starting 2.5 milligrams of dutasteride. And it's just come a long way. So it's been great so far. So yeah. I guess something else too, I've noticed a lot less body hair growth. So, I mean, I don't like body hair growth as much. I mean, my, like, legs are hairy, but, like, I don't want any, like, back hair especially, or, like, chest hair really. I mean, I don't mind. I grow a little bit of scruff on my face, but if I do, I guess, want to try to grow a beard, that's where the minoxidil experiment will begin again. In general, I still do notice facial hair growth, and like on my like stomach, I notice a little like body hair growth, but it's definitely halted a lot comparatively to like, especially before I started any 5-AR inhibitors. But now it's like it grows a lot slower, so which is nice because, you know, I like to maintain more of like the lean physique or like less hairy in general. I do not want to get too hairy because, well, genetically, I am definitely prone to being very hairy. So, yeah, not wanting to be like that. So what else do I use with my Dutasteride 2.5 milligram dose? Well, I use topical minoxidil, 5%, 3 milliliters once a day, usually at night. And obviously, I would use it twice a day, but it just kind of ruins like the look of your hair, like especially mine. It gets really frizzy in the areas I'm applying it to. So I'm only just gonna use it at night only. And I still think that, like, especially with 3 milliliters like a day, like minoxidil itself, its molecular weight is very low. So it's like around 209 Daltons, which is very low, and it's going to become systemic. I feel a lot of people don't realize how much minoxidil topically will become systemic. And obviously everyone's going to tolerate it differently. In general, minoxidil, I'm still a fan of, and you know, the hairs on your head start to rely off the minoxidil, especially if you started, like the ones that grew from the minoxidil are reliant. So if I stop all of a sudden, then I'm not gonna, you know, I'm gonna have a giant like shed of telogen effluvium from, you know, the hairs that were reliant off the minoxidil. So I'm not gonna really stop anytime soon. Next, I'm using ketoconazole shampoo around 3 to 4 times a week. So a mild anti-androgen on the scalp, which obviously, how potent is this? Not probably the craziest potency when it comes to, you know, fighting off hair loss, but hey, I'm still gonna do it either way. It's plus, you know, having a high quality ketoconazole shampoo can be good as well, even though it may dry out your scalp a little bit. But if you just kind of regulate your moisturizers for, you know, your hair, and then, you know, having, you know, a high quality ketoconazole shampoo that doesn't, you know, destroy your hair is important as well. So yeah, that's that. So in conclusion, Dutasteride has been pretty good so far, especially 2.5 milligrams of Dutasteride has definitely gained a lot of like just density back in general. Has halted my hair loss, and I'm more confident really than ever. And honestly, the side effects are not nearly as bad as I kind of expected them to be at first, but obviously everyone's different in that aspect on how well they'll tolerate different things. But in general, it seems that 2.5 milligrams of Dutasteride has worked really well. And obviously, I will be getting blood work in the future just to kind of check things out, especially when it comes to an endocrine panel, just to kind of check things out there. But as well as like things like my liver enzymes as well. And, you know, just all around in health in general, I want to make sure I get my blood work just to make sure things are going good so far, which obviously if you feel fine, it doesn't mean it's like, everything's good and, you know, perfect. So I think blood work is still important, especially when starting any type of drug, or just checking up at least. Even if you've done your research, it doesn't hurt to just check up. And so yeah, but so far, so good for me. And obviously, I think in the future, I think I will maintain or more kind of keep updates on like my physique and see if it's either, you know, Dutasteride that's starting to like make my physique leaner, or it's maybe the HMB, who knows. But I'll be keeping updates here on my physique and how it's really going here. So, but yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, feel free to leave a like, comment anything down below you guys like to add, or, you know, anything I may have gotten wrong in this video, or, you know, just kind of like your experiences in general or questions. So, but yeah, Dutasteride blog part 3. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Bye.